Hello, everyone. I am here to share with you the facts about what is actually more contagious than COVID. And I have been studying viruses for over a decade, and you're going to want to tune in on today's transformational talk, Transformational Tuesday talk, that can make all the difference in the world for you and your loved ones. So this is truly what I wish everyone on the planet knew right now. And what actually inspired me to talk about this today was I was reading a book and there was a quote in it today, and it really spoke to me, and it had me start to think. I'm going to share the quote with you in just a minute. But if you haven't met me before, welcome. Know that I love you and I care about you, and I am a stand for love, because I do believe that love is your destiny. So I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Schuh, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and dating and relationship coach for women. So I'm here every Tuesday at this time, so be sure to join in. So there are three things that are more contagious than COVID. And what had me start thinking about this is this quote, as I said. And the quote is, faith is contagious. You might want to write that down. Faith is contagious. And I share this with you because I know this has really been brought up. I mean, when things are uncertain and shaky, we turn towards our faith. And right now in the world that we're living in, we don't have houses of worship that we can go to. And the ones that might still be opened, it really is exposing people to this COVID pandemic. And so there are no longer safe places of worship, really, during this time. And so I do believe that faith is much more contagious than the virus. So that is the first thing, is faith. And what we know is there is a big difference between faith and its opposite, fear. Now, what I have seen based on the statistics out there and the media is that this fear of this virus is so much more devastating to people's psychological well-being. Now, I'm not to say that I don't have a huge heart for the families that are suffering, for those who have died. And so in this moment, I want to send out love to all of those families and loved ones who are grieving their losses. So I don't take that lightly. And yet, when I look at the numbers and I look at statistically how contagious this virus is, yes, it is incredibly contagious with certain groups of people. We know that it is infecting more of an older population, it's affecting more men, it's affecting more African American men, it's infecting more people. Excuse me, that's not the COVID. I've got something in my throat. I might have to go get something to drink. Do I have water out here? Whew. I just had some peanuts right before the call, and man, hang tight. I'm gonna go get some water. Really tickled throat. Give me just a second. Nothing like water when you're speaking. And I normally have water right here with me. So, as we were talking about, we've got fear, and there's so much fear out there. And I'm seeing a world driven by this fear. And this fear a lot of it is being amped up by the media. And this fear is causing so much stress. Anxiety is going through the roof. We're also witnessing addiction. People who have had problems with addiction and maybe have been sober for years or have healed or thought that they healed their addiction under this high stress. This fear is having these people turn back towards their addiction for comfort. And so I really want to speak to these two things that I do believe are viral in the sense that, and contagious, fear and faith. And I really see them on two ends of the spectrum. And so it's really, really important during this time to know the difference. What is the difference between fear and faith? And one of my great teachers, Tony Robbins, talks a lot about this. And he talks about fear being undirected focus into the future, into worst case scenario. So when this all first came back out, the projections were huge about how many people they thought were going to be impacted. And things started shutting down, and they shut down faster and faster and faster and faster. And we're watching, which is great, we're watching the numbers not rise as fast as we thought they would. And, I am grateful for our authorities that have been proactive. And yet, fear, as I said, is focus that is undirected towards a future that is uncertain. And when it's at its height, it is fear of the future of the worst case scenario. So a lot of people are focusing the future. They're focusing in the future of worst case scenario, which is the fear of them getting it or the loved one getting it. And that is having a dramatic impact on our psychology, on our well-being. And what we do know is when the stress rises, what do you think immunity does? There's actually an inverse relationship between stress and immunity. So if all you're doing is being tied into the media and the fear, and you're just, following the updates of the virus every second of the day, I know that your brain is being inundated with fear, and I know that it's causing great stress and anxiety, and I know that that's decreasing your immunity, which is the very thing that is on our side when it comes to fighting viruses. So what I want you to do is shift your focus from fear towards faith. Faith. Now, what faith is also focus on the future that is uncertain. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows how this is going to all play out. So faith, focusing on the future, and with faith, we can focus on the best possible outcome. And the more that we can bring our focus to the future on the best possible outcome, we know that stress levels will begin to decrease. And then what happens to immunity? Immunity, inverse proportion, inversely related. As your stress decreases, immunity is going to increase. Now, I have studied specifically the herpes virus for over a decade, and I've seen the impact that it's had on people's emotional and psychological well-being. And those that are most focused on a future where they have a future that doesn't work out for them, or a future where they're fearful of the symptoms coming up again and again and again, those people don't do as well. Their immune systems aren't as strong. So you can take two people that have exposure to a virus, and if you have one person that focuses on faith and is using their mind for best case scenario and using visualization, often they will fare so much better than the person that is focusing on the what ifs of the worst case scenario. So I've identified, hello Edgar, thank you so much for joining me. So I've identified, as I said, we've got two things which I believe are much more contagious than COVID: faith and fear. And so my call to you is to pivot your focus towards the faith. Now, while you're doing it, I do believe that it's important to get the facts, so that the facts will help guide you as to what you're doing and what precautions you need to make. But the majority of the time, I want your focus on improving your immunity focusing on best case scenario, and doing whatever you can to boost your immunity. Now, if you listen to, I think it was 2 Tuesdays ago, we did a piece on improving your immunity on the cheap. So be sure to watch that, because I've got some great tips that help people to be proactive. So again, focusing on the faith, and then focusing on asking a better question, which is, how can I improve my immunity? How can I improve my immunity? How can I learn new stress reduction skills during this period of time? That is much more beneficial to you. Now, the third thing that I believe to be much more contagious than COVID, and that is love. I really do believe that love is so much more potent, especially during these times. And I've been witnessing and, seeing people show up and ask how they can help their neighbors, and ask how, or show how ask how they can help healthcare providers and people on the front line. I remember recently seeing on Facebook someone who had spent money to buy the local healthcare providers in the hospital tons of pizza for a night. And then this woman went back and did it again. And these random acts of kindness and love is contagious. We see leaders stepping in and taking a stand for the community and for people in need. And we see it. And when we see it, we actually receive benefits from those acts of love and acts of kindness. And actually, when we look at the hormones in our body, we get a good hit of dopamine and serotonin when we see others showing up and showing acts of kindness and love. So use this time during the quarantine to get connected to the love of yourself. Take really good care of yourself to boost your immunity. And I challenge you to use acts of kindness, acts of connection. I believe that it's one of the most contagious things out there is a smile, is, a thank you note, is just taking the time to notice people and to really share your love, share your appreciation. So those are the three things that I really believe that are so much more contagious and infectious than this COVID pandemic. The first one is fear. And if you're buying into all of the fear and that's where all of your focus is, I know you're not going to be doing that well during this pandemic. As I said, the impact of that, lower immunity, higher anxiety, the chance of going towards self-sabotaging behaviors and addictions. So be really mindful. Stand guard at the gate of your mind. Where is your mind? Where is your focus? So don't allow fear to run the show for you. Focus on the other two that I thought about, that I shared with you, which is faith. Faith, which, as I said, is on the opposite end of fear. You could also say love is on the opposite end of the spectrum of fear. So use your focus on the two other very contagious things, which is faith and love. So that's my charge for you today. I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Schuh, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and transformational and dating coach for women. And if you like what you see here today, be sure to give us a thumbs up, like the page, and if you want more support, I'll put in the link below, click on the link below, and you can claim a complimentary love session with me to see how we might connect you to having more love in your life, expanding that love, and being in beautiful, loving partnership. So love is your destiny. Signing off.